Sí, ¿cuáles son las diferencias entre los líderes políticos de los 60 y 70 y los líderes políticos de hoy?
Very little. Very little difference. They're still obsessed with maybe in the 60s, certainly in Europe where I lived then, there was more of an attachment to the idea that there was the possibility of progressive and social policies in some of the Western countries, particularly in Scandinavia, but even to some extent in England as well. It was before the influx of neoliberal economics that came really in the late 70s, or middle 70s with the oil crisis, and then in the 80s and 90s with Reaganism and Thatcherism, as we called it, but it was actually Friedman, economics from Chicago. The first experiments were in the early 70s in Chile. Pinochet actually introduced the whole idea of deregulation universally in Chile in 73 when he took over. But essentially, I don't see much. It's harder for progressive policies to take root now. People have become diverted. We live in a more Orwellian world now, where people believe more that's coming from the Ministry of Truth than they did in the 60s and 70s, certainly in England. So it becomes, I think it becomes harder to rebel, and it becomes harder to build progressive policies into our societies.
Roger, ¿podemos los pueblos del mundo luchar muchas veces con las grandes corporaciones? ¿No es para ti pelear contra Chevron Texaco, pelear contra un monstruo invencible?
Well, governments more and more have become extensions of corporations. So the United States, there's no government in the United States anymore. It's all part of the military-industrial complex and the corporations. And they have absolute, complete power and control over everything. So the people have no power at all. They believe they have power. It's like if you come to the show, I use that thing from Goethe, which is from the 17th century. There are none so hopelessly enslaved as those who believe themselves to be free. It's a quote from 1640 or something. Help, we're locked in a dystopian, nightmare. We are, but people don't realize it. They kind of have been convinced that actually they can have some effect, and that the politics is organized in a way that is mobile and has possibilities for change. Well, it doesn't. There are no possibilities for change. There might be, but not within the system of so-called democracy that exists in the United States. I don't know how it is in Ecuador. It's very difficult to look at a foreign country and figure out what's going on. Occasionally you get a glimpse of something that you're attracted to, like giving political asylum to Julian Assange. You think, oh, Ecuador must be a cool place. Look what they've done. That's a very cool thing, because the arseholes are after his blood, and they're protecting it. Please keep protecting. I'm really worried that this bastard who you've got now is going to sell him to the Americans for a few dollars. How much for Julian?
Roger, en los 80s Margaret Thatcher fue quizás una de las principales líderes del mundo en instaurar la vida de las corporaciones gracias a este modelo. ¿Qué piensas tú de esos años de el Reino Unido bajo la tutela de Margaret Thatcher?
So the question is, you obviously lived in a lot of years.
What do I think of Margaret Thatcher? Same as I always thought of her. She's one of the most awful human beings that has ever existed on the planet Earth. And she was really, really dangerous because she had no idea that she was a dreadful, dreadful person, and that she was doing nothing but great evil from the first day she drew breath until the day she died. She had no idea. She thought she was great, a bit like Donald Trump now. He really believes he's great. We all know he's a complete prick. We know he's worthless. He's completely worthless. He's a terrible negative drain on any possibility that the Earth might have for progressing and developing the possibilities that human beings have to empathize one with another and to cooperate and to create a more sane and more loving and caring societies. If one cares about such a thing. Obviously he doesn't. He would think that that was piffle, that it was, you know, rubbish. And he's wrong. It's not. This is the way forward. That's my belief anyway. Margaret Thatcher was the same.